Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham, and finally, after 72 days, Spurs have a new manager, Nuno Espirito Santo. I'm joined by Tommy from Tommy Talks Ball on YouTube, formerly Spurs Zone TV. We talk about the appointment, our thoughts on that, and will he switch to three central defenders like he played at Wolves? Harry Kane, when will he speak to him? It will be after the Euros, and can he convince him to stay? Will we have a better chance of signing Wolves players now? Cody has been linked, and Doherty, will Nuno be able to get him back to the form that he showed at Wolves? First 6 games in the league are fairly tough. Will that be Nuno's honeymoon period, or is he expected to hit the ground running? And who runs the transfers now that we have a new manager? And in terms of transfers, what will Nuno see as the positions that definitely need strengthening, and who are the dead wood that need to go, and will they go? So all that and much, much more on Let's Talk. Welcome, Nuno. Hi, Tommy. Thanks so much for coming back on. How are you doing?
All good, my friend. 3 days in for Nuno. So I'm setting up my transfer targets and everything. So yeah, all cool, man.
Yeah, but anyone who follows me will know that I was on Tommy's stream yesterday talking about it. So if you've watched both, or if you watch this and you watch Tommy's one, it's probably going to be quite duplicated. But yeah, thoughts. Obviously, yesterday you had your thoughts, but an extra day, they've changed, or they say same thoughts that you had, and what were they?
Well, you see, the thoughts are how much freedom is Nuno going to be given in the transfer market, or not freedom, because I think in modern football, you just don't get that freedom per se. But how much of a say will he have on targets? Because almost certainly he will have perhaps a short list in certain positions. I mean, he knows how to sign players. Look what he's done with Wolves, and if you've got that Mendes thing happening as well. So I'm just looking at transfer targets now, I just hope he has enough freedom to get the players in he needs for the system that he's almost certainly going to play. Which is, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think he's almost certainly going to go with the 3-4-3 that garnered success at Wolves in his first 2 seasons. So yeah, I just fingers crossed he has the freedom.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think will be in charge of transfers? Do you think it will be Nuno saying, I want this player? And then who does he say that to? Is it Paratici, or is it Levy? Or is Levy on Paratici deciding who, Nuno, this is the players you've got, these are the players we're bringing in, and also these are the players we're selling? Now, we talked on your stream yesterday about the deadwood needs to go, but do you think, there was rumours I saw that Paratici had said to 5 players or something like that you need to their agents, you need to find clubs about a month ago. But I mean, there has to be a conversation between at least 2 of them, Nuno being one of them, surely on who's coming in, who's going out. How do you think that will work with the 3 of them there?
It was probably similar to Pochettino. I don't think he had much say towards the end, even after 3 or 4 years of success. So I'm not sure how much of a say Nuno will have when he was effectively sacked from Wolves. I don't care what anybody tells me. He was effectively sacked from Wolves. So I don't know how much say. He's gonna have. But what I do hope is he will look at the players, and maybe Paratici will sign off. They'll both sort of tick a box and say, okay, this could work. This could work. And if Mendes comes along, this is why I was happy. This is why I was happy to get Nuno in. The signings Mendes brought to Wolves. Okay, towards the end it got a little bit dodgy with £40 million for Fabio Silva. Didn't work out. It was back up to Jimenez. But if he can bring a couple of the Neveses in, he can bring a couple of the even the Adama Traore is an exciting right winger. It could be great. So yeah, it could be great. And he may not need to spend so much because he can transform Doherty. And I think 3-4-3 is a good thing for this team. I think it's a good thing for this team. I think we can get the best out of Tanganga. As I said, Doherty at right wing back, he struggled at right back. It's very difficult to adapt at 28. Go back to right back when you've been playing right wing back all your life. And so it'd be interesting. There's so many variables, especially with this with Nuno. There are so many variables because we just don't know, because it's like, he finished 7th twice with a newly promoted club. So, that's a ridiculous, that's an achievement in itself in the Premier League, without a doubt, the toughest league on the planet. Last season went a bit skewed, but there's enough, more than enough to be confident about. And I think he will have some say. He will have some say.
Mm.
The more the better. The more the better.
Yeah, I think the 3-4-3 is, I mean, it's not definite, but I think it's a very good possibility. Dan was on your stream when I was on last week saying that he's heard that Davies is being converted to a centre. Well, not converted. He played there for Poch, but highlighted as a centre back. So if that is true, then that would signal that the three at the back, and hopefully we get like a commanding centre back in. I've said before, and I'll say it again, I don't think we need a whole new back defence. I think we just need one commanding centre back, and he'll be in charge, and then the others follow suit. And Leicester, when they won the league, Wes Morgan was not the best defender. He was in the Championship not long before that, but he was the leader there, and everyone followed him. But yeah, and Kane, I mean, Kane will know who the new manager is, whether he's spoken to him. He may have spoken to him to say, hi, I'm your new manager. How are you doing? How are the Euros going? But there'll be no conversation, I don't think, about what do you want to do next season, because he's fully focused on England. But when do you think he will talk to him? And do you think he can convince him to stay? Or do you think Kane's mind is, I'm leaving, I need to win trophies?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I think the focus is completely the Euros. Now we're going into the quarterfinals. I think the focus will be completely the Euros. I'll be surprised if they had even a limited conversation, if I'm honest with you. Harry Kane, he's one of those guys that's just in the zone, and he has to stay in the zone. And so many players are coming out of the England squad, even like the Grealishes, who do have off the field problems. They're like, oh, this guy's amazing. This guy's amazing around the training camp. He's the best player, best striker on the planet. And so that's great. And it's not whether Harry Kane wants to go. First of all, he's got a 3-year contract. Secondly, there's only one club I can see him going to, and that's Manchester City, if they're prepared to pay the money. But we don't know how much that could be. We don't even know how much that is to persuade them. So it's Man City or Man United. I can't see him going anywhere else. There's no chance going Paris Saint-Germain. Barca, Real Madrid haven't got money. We're not going to do these silly swap deals with Real Madrid like bloody Hazard and a couple of other their flop players for Kane. That's not happening. So, but I think he wants to go. I think if Man City came in, he would sign a contract, 300 grand a week. They give him 100 grand more. He would have much higher chance of winning trophies. Walker's won almost 10 trophies. He's been there like 4 years since he left. He's won 4 or 5 trophies. And I think a lot of this, I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked at this. A lot of the Spurs fans would be like, do you know what? He deserves it. He deserves it. We're going to lose one of our greatest players, the greatest player, maybe the greatest player we've ever produced, him, Glenn Hoddle, maybe a few of the others. But we'll allow him to go. That's how much we love him. That's how much of a talisman he is. And I'm shocked that the majority of fans think like that. I do too. But I'm just shocked the majority of fans feel that way. But I don't see him going. Whether he wants to go or not, he's going to be 21, 22. He's going to be one of the 25 registered. He's going to be in a Spurs shirt for that first game. Hopefully, he's going to be involved in the first game of the season. Hopefully, he's going to be wearing the white, not the blue, because obviously you've got Man City first up. That'd be crazy if you've got Man City first and Harry Kane's playing for them.
Well, I think if Man City bid for him, there's no way Levy will put a clause in saying you can't play in that first game of the season. There's no way he's going to sell him, regardless of who we buy with the money, that says that he can, win them the game against us first game of the season. But in terms of
possibly.
In terms of transfers with Nuno coming in, do you think there's more chance of Wolves players coming? We've been linked with Cody this morning, I've seen. But all of these, when I say we've been linked, it's on Twitter. So take that with as much pinch of a grain of salt as you want. But the other thing I noticed is that I've said for a long time, since 72 days or whatever it is, that as soon as we were linked with Pochettino and then Paris Saint-Germain extended his contract for 2 years, he's coming back, or at least Levy will try and get him back after those 2 years. So this manager is a stopgap, and Nuno's got a 2-year deal. So to me, that kind of says he's not really here for the long haul. It's a short-term appointment, kind of a steady in the ship until Poch comes back, unless, of course, Nuno does wonders and then you can't not offer him a new deal. But do you think he'll try and get Wolves players in because he knows those and he'll know how they play quickly if if it is a case of it's not a long-term deal getting Nuno in, it's just steadying the ship? Or do you think he'll be allowed to go elsewhere and develop players like Pochettino did, which could take years?
Well, there are many other clubs to sign players from other than Wolves. But there are some players coming out, and I've said for a very long time, Cody is a player. When I've done a Wolves preview before the Wolves game a couple of months back, I've done a Wolves preview with a couple of chaps, and it was surprising what they were telling me. They were saying, you know, they tried to play four at the back this season. He tried to change things this season to try and play in a more attacking manner, Nuno, and Cody in a two doesn't work. Cody is just shocking in a two. He just really doesn't work. He's like a headless chicken. But he's a proper captain, Cody. I've heard him at games, and I've heard not just at games where there's no fans. Even when there's fans, you can hear him screaming and you know, telling that back line exactly where he wants them to be. And we need something like that. You said we need a Morgan, we need a captain, we need a leader. And he's not the greatest player. I mean, Morgan himself had very limited mobility. He had limited mobility, and he had Hoof next to him as well. So they weren't the most mobile partnership. But we need a leader in there, especially if you've got three. If you've got three, you can have a lesser mobile player. I'm not saying Cody's a poor player, but I would love him. I would love him in. We're almost certainly going to play three, because every time Nuno's tried to go to a four, it's not worked. I mean, I think he tried it. Someone on Twitter yesterday was saying that, he can play more attacking. He won't certainly play in a three because he played in a four at Porto and Valencia. He was sacked at Porto and Valencia playing a four. So he's almost certainly he is going to play a three. He failed miserably. The reason Wolves didn't renew his contract because they had a bad season this season. So that's the way I see things. I see 3-4-3, and if you can get Cody in, Neves, he's a quality player next to Højbjerg. He could do some damage, but we need a brawler. We need a leader. A couple of centre backs would be great, but I'd love Cody. We'd linked with Neto. I don't know what that is. That could be smoke, fire. This is the one sport on the planet where there doesn't need to be smoke. As you said, rumors are rife all over the place. But out of them, I really would like Cody. I mean, I've been impressed by him for a long time. He's unlucky not to get in the England starting lineup, but that might be because we play a four.
Yeah, I mean, the first 6 games are fairly tough, certainly in the league. Do you think Nuno will be given like a honeymoon period there, or do you think he's expected to hit the ground running? And what I liked about him at Wolves was very similar to Poch. He had a style. Obviously, Jimenez getting injured has affected that, which would affect anyone. It would be same as Kane being injured for us, and then Dane Scarlett has to come in. But
absolutely.
But obviously, adopting a new style takes time, and if there's no honeymoon period for him there, he's not going to be able to do that in 6 games with, you know, Kane possibly going all the way in the Euros, not even knowing if he's going to be there. And Højbjerg, who's a key player for us, is still there as well. So do you think he'll have a honeymoon period? And if the results are less than adequate, okay, well, they were a tough run of games, or do you think it'll be the other way round if heaven forbid they don't go well?
It is very tough. There's a lot of London derbies, even the games that are not, you know, Arsenal and Chelsea. We've got Watford, Palace under Vieira as well. So, it's a really tricky start to the season. He will be given a honeymoon period to a certain extent, but we know after a month, managers are under pressure. After 2 or 3 games, managers are under pressure. But because it's so intense and because the quality we have within the first 6, I mean, do you know what, in the Premier League, if he just wins one of those games, if it's just one of those games, and it's not Arsenal, he could be sacked. He could easily be sacked after those 6 games.
After 6 games?
If he only wins one of those games and it's not Arsenal, his job will be on the line. You'll be looking at his job thinking, one more loss after this, he's gone. He's gone. He's got a 2-year contract as well. That's how fickle the sport is these days. Everybody was going crazy on Frank de Boer at Crystal Palace. He's done this at Ajax. He's done that. And Palace sacked Frank de Boer within a month, within 3 games. And this is Crystal Palace. With Nuno not having the greatest CV, having been, I keep saying it, effectively sacked last season. Only 2-year contracts, probably not on the highest wages. They could move on. Straight away. So I think he'll be given a honeymoon period. And I tell you what's brilliant for him. He can experiment in the Conference League. The Conference League is a blessing for him. It's an absolute blessing. So he can do the experiment in there. And then hopefully that moves into the first team on how the understanding is within the players and his system. So, but I think we're going to have a pretty good start. To be honest with you, I've got a funny feeling we're going to have a decent start. Playing Man City first game of the season is probably the best time to play Man City.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, and the others as well, Chelsea and Arsenal. A good time to play them before they've ever got into a rhythm. We won't be in a rhythm, but that could suit us. But yeah,
I think Chelsea are going to struggle. I think Chelsea. I think that was a bounce under Tuchel. Don't get me wrong; he's a very good manager, but I think that was a new manager bounce for me, similar to Di Matteo. Obviously Tuchel's got a much bigger CV, but Di Matteo won the Champions League with Chelsea. The next season went pear-shaped. So I don't think Chelsea may not be even in a title race. It's good that we haven't got Man United in the top 6 as well, because I think Man United are going to be serious this year. Sancho looks like Varane at centre back. So I think amongst the 6, and Arsenal are just dying every season. I mean, they're just literally finishing lower and lower and lower. So I think it's a relatively decent start. If you're playing 3 big clubs, to have those 3, I think, and as I said, Man City first up, I think it's a good start for Nuno, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, I think Arsenal could be bottom of the league and it wouldn't make a difference because the derby is who wants it more, I think. So I form you get the odd one here or there where the team at the top batter the team at the bottom, but generally it's who wants it more. So I think even if they were really struggling, I think that's a tough game. And it's away from home, isn't it? Or is it at home? I can't remember now.
I'm not sure. It never mattered last season, did it? Because of COVID. It never really mattered whether it was home or away. We have to get used to that again now. We'll have to get used to that when it really does. It really does matter.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a message come up here saying we've only got 10 minutes left. I thought that was when you have more than 2 people. Unbelievable Zoom trying to skin me out of money. They're not getting it. So we'll have to do this in 2 parts.
All right, mate.
So yeah, I'll have to cut it off when it gets to like 10 seconds. But yeah, in terms of the players, where do you think Nuno will identify that needs strengthening? And forget Harry Kane for the moment. Obviously, if he goes, striker is a priority. But let's assume the proviso that Kane is staying. So where will he identify this needs strengthening? It has to be centre back, presumably. And I'm a big proponent. I'm like a broken record playmaker for me. And if you get a Moutinho from Wolves, that would fit the bill. But again, I mean, it's slightly different if a manager leaves. Like when we got Pochettino, we kind of tapped him up a little bit. So if he'd have gone to Southampton, I want this player, they'd have been a bit annoyed. Wolves let him go, so it was their decision. So
exactly, yeah. That's true.
So yeah, where do you think his priorities will be in this is what I need strengthening to be able to get me where you want me to be?
That's a very good point, actually. That's a very good point you made about the Pochettino thing. Yeah, obviously, we took him out of his contract, so he will garner some power, and Nuno won't. So that's a very good point. But of course, centre back. But we've got players we've got players in the squad currently that are playing in different positions that can certainly play centre back. I think Tanganga at right centre back would be fantastic. It's probably a little bit too short to play in a 2 at centre back. Don't get me wrong. You're not too short to play Fabio Cannavaro is the last centre back to win Ballon d'Or. He's 5'9". So, but I like Tanganga. I think he's a little bit too short to play in the 2 in current football when he doesn't have that leap and not fast enough to play right back. So right centre back could be perfect for him. Ben Davies played left centre back, as you mentioned, for a long time for Wales, and his pace is gone now. We saw that against Sterling in Man City, absolutely ripped him to shreds. So his pace is sort of gone now. So that could work fantastically for him too. So we've got a few players that can go into centre back from other positions, but I still think we need a brawler, and we probably need 2 centre backs in there. I've got a funny feeling Sanchez might come good. Someone at Deadwood's gonna transform. It's always the way. How much of it, I'm not sure. But how much of it, I'm not sure. The thing with playmaker is I don't think he plays with a play 3-4-3. It's not a playmaking. It's not a playmaking role, because if you play 2 centre mids, then you play 2 wide players and a striker. then where's your playmaker? Your playmaker will be one of your centre mids that plays slightly more attacking. But it's all about the wing. It's all about the wing. If he plays the system at Wolves, it's all about what they do on the wing, the wing backs, and how they distribute to the wide forwards, if you like. So the playmakers are less needed because the wingers come inside. So the number 10 position is almost filled sometimes. So, but it depends. If they play, I've been talking to a lot of people. They think we might play 3 in centre mid and play Kane and Son up top. And if that happens, then a playmaker will be key because you'll have Kane, Son. Then you have someone behind them, then a flat 2 centre mids. We've got Ndombele, Lo Celso, Dele Alli. I don't think we're gonna go in the market for a number 10. If I'm perfectly honest, I don't think maybe in a different. If it wasn't Nuno, play 4 at the back, but potentially. I think with Nuno, I can't see us going in the market.
No. Yeah, we've got less than a minute now, so I'm going to end this and then we'll come back on. So if you join back on. Hi there, we're back after Zoom has kicked us out. So crack straight back on with the chat about Nuno and Spurs. Again, here with Tommy. So you mentioned earlier that you think Sanchez could come good. Who do you think? There's always a few. When a new manager comes in, there's always a few players who everyone thinks are deadwood that come good and just need that change of manager. So you thought Sanchez, Doherty is probably the obvious one as well. Who else do you think could really, really benefit from the change of manager and Nuno coming in your opinion?
Well, I'm just looking through the squad now. I think Dele Alli's a lost cause. I do. It's been 3 years now. It's been 3 years.
Yeah. I think all I see on him is Instagram pictures of him in new clothes or doing all of it. He seems to care more. You know, he should be at the gym now. He's not in the Euros.
He should be in the Euro squad. He should be in the Euro squad. Yeah. I know there's a big competition for number 10.
But now he isn't. He should be in the gym and the training pitch and just trying to, I want to be in that team next season. But I agree with you. I think the endorsements and his public image and the celebrity are more important to him, unfortunately, which is a real shame because he's obviously got talent. But
yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a few Argentine players. I'd like to think Lo Celso could. In the Copa America, he's starting quite regularly for Argentina, and I hear he's doing quite well. So fingers crossed there'll be a couple. What I think Bergwijn will go right wing back. I've said this, maybe he's back up to Doherty, or maybe Doherty can switch sides. I mean, players are versatile these days. Yeah, players are versatile these days. I think his end product isn't quite there. He hasn't got that. He's got good acceleration, but he hasn't got pace for long periods. So he's got agility, but he hasn't got pace for long periods. So his work rate is similar to some of the players that have adapted there, like Victor Moses was nothing. And he played wing back and looked world class. That was under Conte. So we were looking at that. He plays the same system to Conte. So fingers crossed Bergwijn could come good. Reggie will have less defensive responsibilities. And we saw at the end of last season, defensive responsibilities are not his strength. Yeah. So he'll have three centre-backs behind him and maybe Højbjerg to the right. So it could work. And he's Spanish, Portuguese, there's a connection there. So hopefully there are quite a few. There was, as I said, Sanchez has got all the tools. He's got all the tools. His pace, his physicality, it's all there in his first season with us. Barcelona were interested. We signed for like £30 million, I think rising to 35, 40 from Ajax. After the first season, Barcelona were looking at him. They were 70 million, 80 million pounds. It wasn't surprising. He looked like the next Ledley King to me. He had all the physicality, he had the presence, but for some reason he's just gone backwards. And at centre back, when you start making errors, for some reason it just weighs you down. It just weighs you down more than any other position. As a goal scorer, if you haven't scored in a few games, you start scoring. That's it. You're back to it. The centre back is completely different. So hopefully, I've got a funny feeling Sanchez could come good, especially as a wide centre back with his pace. It could work. There could be a lot of players transformed.
Yeah, I think Sanchez would benefit massively from having that commanding centre back. He reminds me, similar to Rodon as well, of Michael Dawson when he first joined us. Obviously, Michael Dawson was fantastic for us, but at the start, he needed the Ledley King, the Jonathan Woodgate to show him not the ropes, but be the leader and him to follow suit there. And then he then progressed to that role. But Sanchez, I think, I agree with you. I like Sanchez. He's got pace. He's strong, and he likes to tackle. But I think confidence has been his issue, and I think you can tell when he's not confident because he lets the ball bounce over his head. When he's confident, when Barcelona were looking into him, any ball that went over the top, it went onto his head and out somewhere. And when he first joined us, a big transfer fee as well. And he's fairly young, wasn't he? Moving country.
It was actually 40 million. I'm looking now. It's actually got 42 million pounds we paid from 4 years ago. It's incredible.
So I think he had a little bit of put some pressure on him there because of the price tag. And that's when he started, he let the ball bounce every time over his head, which is, you learn that when you're like 6 as a defender. Do not do that.
As a centre-back, you can't do that.
And he started doing that under Mourinho. With Bergwijn, I think it could be a huge year for Bergwijn. I like Bergwijn. I thought that goal he scored against United in the first game back after the first lockdown, I thought that's what you want to see from him. Like, just positive. Similar to Saka, what Saka's doing in the England squad at the moment. Gets the ball, first thought is forward. How can I make that defender worry about me? But then that Anfield game, not so much the game, the aftermath of the ridiculously disgusting abuse that he got. And he's a young man moving country, so it's a bit of a culture shock to him anyway. And then he gets that, and I think that it completely moved him back into his shell. I don't think Mourinho helped because Mourinho's not the most attacking-minded manager. He's not going to really say to you, go and express yourself going forward. I think the confidence just every time he got the ball, it was always turning around and looking back. And that goal against Villa that he scored was, again, similar to that Man United of him just forward. So I think if he gets a manager that believes in him, which... And he showed with your wing-back comment, in that really good period that we had under Mourinho, he was the one tracking back. So I think he could do a real good job at a wing-back. But I think he will be, if it's on the right, understudy to Doherty, because Nuno knows Doherty. But yeah, exactly. I think it could be a real big year for Bergwijn. I really hope it is, because I really like him. And he's only 20.
If it doesn't go well, it's free, I think, 24 maximum. And if it doesn't go well, if Doherty ends up, playing really well, right? Well, if one of them don't perform, Doherty or Reggie, he can go either flank. Bergwijn, he can go either flank. So I think bringing Sessegnon back as well, left wing back, which could work. He played at Hoffenheim. He's done rather good at Hoffenheim last season. I think people getting a little bit crazy because he got 2 assists in December, saying he's world class now. Sessegnon, he done okay, and he's coming back. So I think people like that with Foyth as well. Foyth didn't even get a game till after Christmas. But we ended up getting £15 million, which is good business. So there are lots of so many variables. I mean, look at Skip coming back as well. Skip's a big one. He could be anything. He could be absolutely anything, Skip. But people have to realise he is the exact same player. He plays in the exact same role as Harry Winks. If you're expecting an assist, man, if you're expecting a goal, man, it's not going to happen. You've got 2 assists and 1 goal in 45 games for Norwich last season in the Championship. You're not going to score goals. You're not going to score assists. He doesn't make last-ditch challenges. He got 2 yellow cards. He is a sideways guy, but that is a role. That is a role.
You need that in a team, don't you?
Done. You do if you play 3 centre mids. With 3 centre mids, it works magnificently. Gilberto Silva was derided by his own fans. He played 34 of the 38 games in Arsenal's invincible season. He's so key. Carrick played at Man United for 12 years, 6 of them under Ferguson, first team. Very, very similar. Didn't score many goals, didn't make too many last-ditch challenges. But if you use them right, they could be magnificent. And Skip could be that. I think he's under 21's captain already. He only played 4 games for under 21s. He's under 21's captain already. He's got a lot going for him. We've got some really, really good young talent. There's a lot to look forward to. There really is this season. A lot to look forward to.
And Nuno will give chances to those young players because that's kind of what he does as well. And interesting, you mentioned Sessegnon, and I completely forgot that. And your wing-backs comment, I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it yesterday. But I've got a friend who's a Fulham fan who said that Sessegnon isn't a left-back. He's not good enough defensively.
No way. He's a left winger. Yeah, he's a left winger. Yeah.
So a wing-back might actually be more beneficial to him. And Skip, I mean... I think Mourinho said, didn't he, last year that he's a future Spurs captain? Someone definitely said it, but
Pochettino said it as well. I think both of them said it.
Yeah, but with Skip coming back, and I'm pretty sure he may not be a starter, but he'll certainly be in that first team. Do you think that kind of spells the end of Harry Winks at Spurs? And similarly, we asked, who do you think Nuno will improve? Does Skip spell the end for Winks? And who do you think?
I think so.
Is out, or who do you think Nuno will say they have to go? That I can't improve them, and they're not part of my plans.
I think so. I think Winks will go, and I'm very much one of Winks' supporters, and I'm very much in the minority when it comes to that among streamers and Spurs fans in general.
You're in the majority here.
Yeah,
I quite like it.
Well, yeah, I find him. I mean, Pochettino, when he first broke into the scene, was like, he reminds me of Xavi and Iniesta, and that's a quote. That is a quote. So, and he played over 100 times. He looked good for England. I think he played nearly 20 games. He was one of the first players on the team sheet before he got injured. So, but he's 26, and I'm not gonna look. You've got to refresh things up, and I'm not. We've held on to players for too long. If we need money, then maybe it's good to move Winks on for £20 million, or they're saying 30 to Villa. I wouldn't want to sell him to the Premier League because I think he could be magnificent. I think Spain suits his game more anyway. But you can't really keep Winks and Skip in the same team. You really, really can't. They're quite unique players. You can't have two of them in the same squad, and they both need to be playing every week. If you're going to dictate tempo like they do, they dictate tempo. You need to be playing almost every week. So Skip, I wasn't against Skip going back on loan to Norwich this season to give him another season on loan in the Premier League. But I think they got Gilmore now, Norwich, so he's almost certainly going to stay.
Have they? On loan, they've got him.
They got Gilmore, yeah. They got Ben Gilmore on loan now. So it looks like they've replaced him straight away. So he looks like he's staying. And of course, I want to see him. I want to see him in a Spurs shirt. But it could be good. It could be good to cash in on Winks now. £20 million would be good business. And he's no spring chicken. He's 26 years old now. I think he'll have a lot of suitors. Unlike Dele Alli, I don't know who we're going to sell him to. Winks, I think, will have a lot of suitors.
I think Winks really fell foul, but I think he really struggled with Mourinho. I think Pochettino is an arm around the shoulder kind of manager, and like, you're my boy. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Don't do it again. But like, I still have faith in you. With Mourinho, it's you've made a mistake. Get out of my sight. And you get some players. Rio Ferdinand said it on some interview. I can't remember where it was, but some players need an arm around the shoulder. Some need a telling off. I think Winks is certainly the former of that. Whereas Harry Kane, I think you could literally get right up in his face and scream at him, and it wouldn't really make a difference. It would probably fire him up more. So I think Winks was one of the big casualties of Mourinho and Mourinho's character because of that. And I think the confidence has just drained from him, and he's not playing. And a lot of players, certainly strikers, but it can link to any position, need to be playing to get that confidence up. And playing bit parts aren't going to help with that. So, yeah, I think he probably does need to go for himself as much as us.
His career could be refreshed, quite frankly, as well. His career could be refreshed as well. The thing with Winks is it could be a hand around his shoulder. We've got a lot of them. I think Dele Alli and Ndombele definitely need an arm around the shoulder.
I'm not sure about Ndombele. I'm not sure about Ndombele because Mourinho publicly called him out and it kind of transformed him. So I think he's mentally stronger than people think. But I agree with Ali. I think he suffered the same as Winks.
Yeah, but Winks is a little bit tricky. Winks failed miserably under Mourinho because we had 30% possession. We beat Man City 2-0 with 30% possession. You cannot have a player that dictates tempo with 30% possession. They're completely useless. It's like having a goalkeeper with no arms. It's just completely useless. They have no use. We saw towards the end of this season where Winks tried to be more attacking because social media is massive. Social media is huge. That's why we sold Trippier. In my eyes, he had a couple of bad games. We sold Trippier, one of the worst decisions we ever made, especially when we sold Walker the season before. Social media got on his back. We ended up selling him. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same with him. It was the same with him at the end of last season. He's too defensive. He doesn't score enough goals. He doesn't assist. He can't score goals. It's not his job. He's not supposed to be anywhere near the opposition's box. If he is, he's not doing his job. He's the last player back all the time, with a centre-back perhaps. So I don't get that criticism. And then we saw him try to play more attacking against Aston Villa, and it just didn't work. He just can't do it. He dribbled around one or two players, very fortunately, and then the pass was shocking. His through balls were terrible. So he tries to adapt. The biggest criticism you can have of Winks is he can't adapt to a different role. But in a specific role, he could be marvelous, like a lot of players.
I think so as well. We talk about Kane, the fan base saying, he deserves to go. I think Winks as well. I don't think he's a bad player. You saw in the cup final that he got the ball from whoever the defender was. There was about 10 metres in front of him and he passed back to the defender. And Jamie Carragher said that's lack of courage, but probably is. But I think it's because of the confidence was shot to pieces. I don't want to make a mistake. I'll get in trouble again. I'll pass it to someone else because that's easier. It's not my fault if it goes wrong. And I think it is lack of courage, but it comes from lack of confidence. And he needs to go, I think. And to a manager who will put an arm around him and say, you're my main guy midfield. Unless you get injured or suspended, you're my main guy and you're playing. And I think you'll then see the Winks that played at the Bernabeu and
exactly. And when he's confident, he plays the square balls. He plays those square balls like he did at Real Madrid. When he's confident, he plays those square balls all the time. And you can see the difference. And the reason I think we talk about Winks so much, he probably looks like he's going to go at some stage, is because we've got Skip coming through and he's the same player. That's why. I think that's why we're talking about him so much, because we've got, as I said, future England captain there. And out of all the youth players coming through, Harry Kane's 28, 29, he's rooming away. He could be the next big Spurs, next big Spurs boy. So there's a lot on Skip, and he could be anything he wants to be. He could be fantastic.
Yeah. Last couple of questions, and Fabio Silva came in as the understudy to Jimenez. Obviously, he had to be put in the firing line because of the horrific injury to Jimenez, but he was supposed to be the understudy and learn from him, and then in a couple of seasons, then he'll be the main man. Do you think that could be Dane Scarlett? Again, let's assume that Kane's staying, or that Kane goes and we get another ready-made striker. Do you think Dane Scarlett will be in the first team squad to be learning off those players and then playing bit parts as substitutions or starting in the conference? Or do you think it's still a little bit too early and needs to go out on loan again? Because Mourinho said he's a star in the making as well, and a fairly big compliment from him. But he is only 16. But yeah, what do you think of him?
Ridiculously young. I think he turned like 17 towards the end of last season. He's still ridiculously young. But this is the time to experiment. This is the time to experiment. We talked earlier on in the show. Are we going 3-4-3 or are we going 3-5-2? If we go 3-5-2 with two strikers, Dane Scarlett will be important. We will need him. You need a backup for every position. So if you do end up playing Kane and Son up front, we're going to need to buy another striker, especially with Vinicius gone, and we're going to need a full striker. Can't see us signing two. So Scarlett could be the fourth man. Get him involved in the Conference League. It could be absolutely great. It could be great. Or it's risky to even loan a 17-year-old to the Championship because you just don't know whether he's going to get the game time. Like we've done it with Troy Parrott. We probably loaned him out too early, and now he's scoring 1 or 2 goals in 3 seasons in League One with Ipswich. I think he scored 1 goal. So we've got to use it. We've got to use him wisely. If we play 2 up top, and we can experiment with him, we can experiment with it in Conference League. We can experiment 2 up top or 3, however we want to play. So I think we will see. I think we'll see a lot of Dane Scarlett. A lot rides on this Conference League. It could be. We were having a go at it, and it was sort of it was a laughable thing. Belarus, landing at Belarus, where next to the stadium, where as soon as an aeroplane comes in, the stadium will be shaking and that sort of thing. But in the middle of nowhere, we're going to be playing a lot of these clubs in the middle of nowhere. But it could be absolutely magnificent to get these youth players through, especially the Scarletts and the Skips. So I hope to see much more of them this season.
Yeah, and we've definitely got a manager now who will give youth a chance, even if Levy hasn't told him that as part of his job. He will give youth a chance. But last question, I'm much more optimistic now because we have a manager and we can start planning for pre-season, planning for next season. It's maybe not the manager that most people wanted. People have said it's underwhelming, but and with your comment of he was fired by Wolves, I'm not that bothered about that because every manager has been fired at some. But it's the only industry in the world where you can be fired for being terrible at a job and get the same job the next day. But are you optimistic, a bit hesitant, a bit? rather someone else, or are you? How are you feeling going into the pre-season and a new season with Nuno coming in the last couple of days?
I'm really optimistic. I'm really, really optimistic. As you said, he's good with youngsters. He had to be good with youngsters because Wolves had very little squad depth. So obviously he messed around with Fabio Silva, but I think they had Kilman in at centre back last season. Gibbs White looks like a real player for them, and he got them into the first team. So yeah, he does know what to do. He does know what to do with the youth, it seems. But I'm very optimistic because of course there are managers I wanted other than him, but we have to just completely 100% support him. And 2 7th finishes with a newly promoted club is some achievement. It's some achievement. So yeah, we 100% have to get behind him. And I'm just glad we didn't get Martinez or Southgate. I had a feeling.
Yeah, I did too.
If we do not employ someone before the Euros, that we're waiting for a manager. We're waiting for a manager during the Euros, whether it's Joachim Low, Martinez, Southgate. So I'm really glad we don't have Martinez because his teams, the way they set up, they cannot defend. I know he's done all right with Belgium. I think most managers do all right with Belgium, but his Everton side was shocking. So it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. And there's seeds. There's roots that Nuno could work fantastic, and there are similarities with Pochettino. There are similarities. He was a risky move back then. We wanted Louis van Gaal. We went with Pochettino, and he was around 9th or 10th with the Southampton side. 7th, 8th, mid-table. This with his side, Nuno. So it is very similar, and they are. I think, as you say, he's a sort of arm around your shoulder type manager. Very happy in his in his opening interview with his Spurs shirt. There are a lot of similarities there, and hopefully there's similarities on the pitch because within 2 years of Pochettino being there, we were title contenders. We were fighting Leicester for the title. 2 years. So it took 2 years.
Yeah, I'm optimistic as well. I'm always optimistic. Before every game, I think we'll win, and when we lose or get battered, it's even more of a kick in the teeth. But yeah. And Premiership experience he's got. And his opening interview, it was a 10-second clip I saw. He just looked genuinely excited to be at Tottenham. Whereas Mourinho, I always thought his reputation was a little bit battered at United. So it wasn't, I'm happy to be at Tottenham because it's Tottenham. I'm happy to be at Tottenham because I haven't won anything. I can go and win something and restore my reputation. But Nuno looked genuinely excited to be there.
Yeah, he looks like he's got a lot less baggage. He does look like he's got a lot less baggage, and his CV backs it up. That he could be a very good appointment. And I'm definitely optimistic. And as I said, the first 6 games of the season, I think we're going to do well. I think we had a prediction. And I was on a stream with 5 others, and 4 of them. We looked at it and we was like 12 points, predict 12 points. And that's a good start with that, with those teams, with those clubs. And a lot of those are not Nuno fans, really not Nuno fans. But they said, 12 points, that'd be a very good start. So if we get top 6, I think it's a good job. I think he's done a good job. If we get top 6 this season and maybe a long run in the FA Cup would be great. The FA Cup would be great. Carabao Cup, I'm not too bothered about. It'd still be nice to have a trophy in the trophy cabinet, but FA Cup's is a real trophy. So I'd love to have another good run in that, get to the semis or the final, top 6. I think that'd be good. I mean, what do you think will be a good season? What do you think would be a good season for Nuno?
Progression, I think. We've obviously dropped down from where we were under Pochettino, which, I mean, he did a phenomenal job. I don't think there's any secret in that. We've obviously tried something with a serial winner, didn't work. So yeah, I think progression, like, as long as it's challenging for that top 4, I think we can call that a success. I mean, if we're finishing like 8th, 9th to 10th and nowhere near top 4, then there'll be question marks. But yeah, like you say, a good cup run. I don't particularly mind which cup it is. Just a good cup run. The Conference League, be nice to win a cup, but it's not really a competition, is it? Like you said before, it's more of an experimentation. It's more like a pre-season friendly kind of experimentation. But yeah, FA Cup would be wonderful. League Cup, I think. Obviously, if we won a trophy, any trophy, you'd have to say that's a success based on our last, 15 years.
Oh,
but yeah, I think progression in the league and definitely challenging for that top 4, I think would be a good season. regardless of whether we finish 4th, 5th, 6th, wherever.
Yeah, I agree. The football, I don't think it's going to be, if people are expecting great standard of football, but there should be a real work ethic in this team. And that's what's been lacking. So it'll be nice to see that work ethic on the pitch, and maybe get some, finish, as you said, fight for the top 4 and a nice cup run. It'd be a good first season for Nuno, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I'm optimistic we can do that.
Absolutely. I think we're in the minority. We are definitely sort of in the minority.
Well, that's just Spurs fans, isn't it? The amount of Spurs fans who are just negative, it's almost like they just want to have a moan. But you've got to be positive, I think. Otherwise, you just depress yourself.
It is quite crazy. We've got like this Spurs family. I think a lot of people maybe watching, seeing them on YouTube, all sorts of channels, and oh my God, the negativity on there is just, it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, football at the end of it is fun. It's supposed to be fun at the end of the day. Before a game starts, support your team no matter what, and predict. Doesn't matter who we're playing. I'm the same. I always predict to win or draw at the very minimum. I can never predict a loss for Spurs. No. And we're better than that. We can beat any team, not just on our day. We can beat any team, and we can beat them regularly, especially with some investment. There'll be signings, and there'll be players outgoing this summer. Hopefully we do the job right. And as I said, 2 seasons, we could be title contenders. We could be title contenders. There's enough talent and potential in this team.
Yeah, well, I hope so. That's a good way to end, I think, on a positive note. And
yes.
Thanks so much again for coming on. Welcome anytime. I always have such a good time on your show as well. For anyone who doesn't follow me and know what show I'm talking about, or doesn't follow you, what's the show called? Where can they find you? Yeah,
it's a pleasure coming on. Before you head over to my channel, make sure you get subbing to this guy, because I'm sure you want to go live soon, and that'd be brilliant when we can do the lives with loads of. We've got massive Spurs family, as I just said. So get subbing and get likes, get liking this stream. It all helps with the growth of every channel. So yeah, Tommy Talks Ball. I do a bit of everything. Obviously not as much now because it's pre-season, but when the season starts again, I'll be doing previews, watch-alongs, reactions, and it's not just Spurs. There's a lot of neutral stuff on there too. Tomorrow, I don't know when this is being released. I'm going to be doing it's a stream with a couple of Wolves fans talking about Nuno. I keep saying Fonseca. I keep wanting to say Fonseca. I keep saying Nuno. I've got to get that right. Nuno in particular, and they've got very diverse views. There's sort of like they're both very. One of them wanted him to stay, one of them wanted him to go. So that'd be quite interesting. So yeah, once you've subbed over here to Let's Talk Tottenham, if you could go over there, sub to me, maybe check out a few of my videos, be greatly appreciated. And as I say, Chris, pleasure coming on again. Yeah, like Tommy said there, sub to and like both of the channels, and then you know go and watch Tommy's video tomorrow. With a Nuno perspective from some Wolves fans. And yeah, like I said, pleasure having you on, always welcome on, and pleasure going on your show fairly regularly now as well. It's always a good fun. And nice one, man. It's always the lunchtime ones. Yeah. There's a gap in the market for the lunchtime ones. So yeah, you're welcome anytime, man. You're welcome anytime.
Excellent. Likewise here. Thanks again, and come on, you Spurs. Thanks so much for watching. Before you go, please make sure you give the like and subscribe buttons a click. Any questions, comments, or any suggestions for future episodes, if you just add those into a comment on the YouTube video. If you're listening to the audio only podcast, thanks so much for listening. Anyone who wants the audio only podcast, you can get that at Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcast from. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter at LTalkTottenham, you can find all the information there. I'll be back soon. Until then, come on, you Spurs!